on. But yeah, the show Hashgraph Enthusiasts is live every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Support the show. Leave a comment. Share if you're watching. Let me know if there's any news you want me to talk about. But I think what we'll do is we'll just start diving into it with what I think is maybe one of the biggest stories potentially kind of continuing to unfold that involves a governing council member, which is pretty exciting. So we're going to talk about Mondelēz. Obviously, I ate their Oreo cookie on the show a couple, almost feels like a year back. But Mondelēz, right, creator of, or the, manufacturer of like Toblerone, Oreo, Cheez-Its or whatever, all those different, any kind of like snack that you get at the grocery store runs through the Mondelēz supply chain. And as we've known about SKUx, SKUx is definitely a leader in kind of like item level payment acceptance, digital payment innovation. We start talking about coupons. We start talking about all these things. So I know that people are always asking like, what's going on with Coupon Bureau, all these different types of things. It's a meme in the community when it comes to coupons. And it's kind of like, it's kind of still happening. So I just want to, so again, this is involving Mondelēz, Hedera governing council member in the food industry. This is involving Hedera, and this is involving SKUx. So I'm just going to literally read the press release because it's pretty short, but it kind of gives you everything you need. So I'll read this to you. SKUx, a leader in item-level payments acceptance and digital payment innovation, today announced the completion of the first phase of its payments-based offer innovation project with Mondelēz International and Hedera, an open-source lending enterprise distributed ledger. An open-source leading enterprise distributed ledger technology network. That's a mouthful. As a member of the Hedera Council, Mondelēz International, whose mission is to empower people to snack right. This was just pausing there. This was funny. There's like a couple messages from some people that were like, snack right. I don't know what snacking right is, but snack right. It is what it is. I dig it. Snacking Right partnered with SKUx to develop innovative DLT-based solutions. Now, again, heads up, there's a lot of like corporate speak in this, so we'll kind of digest it after. But DLT-based solutions on Hedera focused on digital transformation initiatives, supply chain management, and enriched business processes to enable enhanced customer experiences. So, right, we're touching on quite a few things that we're interested in this ecosystem from like an enterprise standpoint. The first phase of the innovation project successfully expands upon the current SKUx and Mondelēz customer service program in market. So real quick, that's referring to news we were talking about on the show back this spring, I believe, about Mondelēz SKUx, which was pretty exciting. And we know that from the interviews that Mondelēz has given to, I think it was, what was that show that Zenobia did? It was like a podcast. Oh my God, I lost it. What's that podcast name? Anyways, people know what I'm talking about. They had the governing council representative from Mondelēz on there talking about coupon fraud and how to solve that and the different types of things they want to work on, and mentioning that they currently kind of had a proof of concept and there was stuff, as we see here, that was in market. So this is something small that's now expanding to something bigger, essentially. In market. And so the current implementation that's in market right now is designed to enhance customer offer experiences by adding near real-time SKUx digital payment options alongside coupons, mailer paper checks, vouchers. The expanded innovation project publicly maps a subset of these payment transactions to the Hedera network, providing an end-to-end secure and seamless customer offer experience tied to an immutable record of transactions. So basically this again is just hitting on what we've been talking about in this ecosystem over and over again, right? Coupons are a massive business. It's rife with fraud, and the Hedera consensus service, other Hedera services are like a perfect product, perfect solution to solving these things. So this was a quote from the COE leader of digital strategy of Mondelez, saying, quote, "As a customer-first global organization, we're committed to being at the forefront of innovation. With today's high volatility consumer behavior and increasingly complex supply chains, it is critical we focus on digital transformation and leveraging Web3 technologies to increase customer satisfaction and engagement, blah, blah, blah." So basically, they're saying this is only the beginning. There's more to come. And it's pretty clear that as a governing council member, and as we've kind of seen with the criteria to join the governing council being you have to develop a use case, this is pretty promising. Some of the products too, just a reminder, like Mondelez is like Oreo, Ritz, Cliff Bar, Tate's Bake Shop, Cadbury Dairy Milk, Toblerone, like all these different major things. So this is a potential use case that's going to like touch a lot of different areas of customers, right? Like this is when Lehman would talk about distributed ledger technology being involved in everything. This is kind of a peek at what that kind of looks like. The CEO and co-founder of SKUx, Bobby, says, "We are proud to play a pivotal role in delivering an incredible customer experience for Mondelez, as well as the broader industry." So basically, this is a really, really interesting use case. And it's funny too, because I know that we joke a lot about coupons. We joke a lot about the Coupon Bureau. Is that happening? Is it not happening? We saw kind of SKUx come into the fold this year and kind of into last year as well with their kind of related offerings. Water break. Stay hydrated, everybody. So what this kind of tells me is this type of use case hasn't really slowed down. Like anything in the technology industry, stuff keeps shifting and moving. Things pop up and things fall off. It's not to say that the Coupon Bureau isn't doing stuff with Hedera anymore. I know there's questions around that, but it's clear that Hedera is still playing a role when it comes to kind of this customer engagement, coupons, retail, food, those different types of things, point of sale. So that's very interesting. I dig that. Oh, that's right. The podcast that Zenobia did was called Gossip About Gossip. There is a great episode. If you go and find it, it's with the rep from Mondelez. And they go into detail kind of about some of the different things that they're going to be building on Hedera. So it's interesting to watch that now, seeing this news. You know what I mean? It kind of paints a bit of a picture. Tying into this news is Joshua tuning in. Coupons pay the bills. Yeah, they lower your bills too, which is great, especially if you're trying to save some coin on your recent Toblerone purchase. Hashgraph Association recently published what they're calling their Hashgraph Horizons. First of, I hope, many newsletters. This one is kind of authored by Kamal Yosefi, president of the board. We see him in a bunch of different posts and making some moves. So read through this, some interesting stuff. I wanted to just kind of highlight two things from this newsletter, just really quick, just reading them. And this kind of ties into the Mondelez stuff, right? So there's an excerpt from this newsletter that says, quote, "Over a third of Hedera governing council members are developing their industry use cases through the Hashgraph Association's Enterprise Accelerator Program, which we heard about when Rob Allen was at the Hashgraph Association developing that." Again, a third of Hedera governing council members are developing their industry use cases through that accelerator program. So there is the project management office, the PMO, and then the technical design authority. And basically this is a body inside the Hashgraph Association that is working with these governing council members to build out these use cases, like the, planning, education, design, deployment. And when we look at the SKUx news, it kind of lines up here, right? Because the bottom of this press release says, recently, Mondelez joined the Hashgraph Association's Enterprise Accelerator Program. So exactly those things, offering funding, training. So this is kind of those things coming together. So it's interesting to see these enterprise kind of use cases starting to take shape. And as we saw with this one, there's stuff already live in market, albeit small, but building on it. So very interesting to see. The other thing from the Hashgraph Association newsletter that I found interesting was highlighting this new, the Hashgraph Group. So this was established by Kamal and Stefan, both part of the Hashgraph Association leadership. This was back in May 2023. This was with the ambition of becoming a self-sustaining operation that is no longer reliant on the finite Hedera HBAR treasury, but rather focused on venture building, co-investing. So this is kind of a break. What the Hashgraph Association is saying here is we're breaking from the traditional grant model, because, you know, there are flaws with that model, as we've seen in our ecosystem and as we're seeing more and more with other ecosystems. The grant giving model can definitely have issues. And naturally in a startup ecosystem, when you start to see market shifts, when you start to see venture capital coming back in, you start to think about those things and want to prepare for them. So it's a very interesting thing. And they recently received license approval from the Financial Services and Regulatory Authority, FSRA, to manage a regulated $100 million venture capital investment fund titled Hashgraph Ventures Fund I, or One, with the Abu Dhabi global market in the UAE. So that's a very interesting thing, because in that area, there's a lot of innovation happening, contrast to what's happening in the US, with a lot of, you could say, you know, we don't have a lot of regulatory clarity on what's going on in the US versus some of these other areas. There's a lot of different innovation happening, and there are a lot of governing bodies for that are just way more defined and way more assistive in getting some of these use cases through. So all's to say, you know, we've got some enterprise use cases rocking and rolling. We've got some good positioning in these other economies that are so important. And we're seeing, you know, even when you scroll through X, more and more dialogue around that. So I don't, you know, it's good to see that. Let's switch gears now to, and if anyone has any news that you want me to chat about, just leave it in the comments. I'm seeing some comments here about H-Monkey takeover from Cosmic. Always watching the show, support that. We got some other comments here. Dig it. Yeah, I agree. This is a bullish development by Mondelez, 100%. I'm not too familiar with this. What's with the Grayscale leaving out Hedera? They just announced a list for their pick of 35 digital assets that a company will utilize in investment projects. They picked Doge and Casper over HBAR. Not 100% familiar with that. Josh, yes, October 21st, Ghost Drop. Let's rock and roll. Wonderbar, what's up, HBarbarians? You know what's up. HBAR's up. I'm pretty sure HBAR's kind of up. It's kind of up. All right, so let's continue on here. This was a really cool update from like a community use case that I love to see, Rooster Cartel. If folks aren't familiar, you know, Rooster Cartel does hot sauces. It's an NFT project. They've been in this ecosystem for a long, long time. They were one of the first to utilize the HCS 20 standard for essentially inscribing information on the consensus service. They were using it for the manufacturing of their product. Now they announced that they accept HBAR payments on their website in partnership with Hashgate. So that's really, really, really cool. And these different types of things are important because we're talking about infrastructure and use cases that are going to be used, right? Rooster Cartel probably isn't the only e-commerce product, you know, company or project that has items to sell that you got to ship, that want to, you know, sell them in HBAR, allow them for purchase in HBAR. So doing these types of things and laying this groundwork is so important. So I'm really happy to see that. Shout out to Rooster Cartel. I'm noticing a trend too of kind of like more and more ability to kind of spend HBAR on things outside of just minting NFTs and those different types of things. So I love to see that. This was a massive bit of news this week, just launched yesterday, HashPack Staking. This was a long time coming. A lot of people in the community were hungry for it. And, you know, for me, to be honest, when HashPack announced their PAC token, I was like, whoa, you know, I didn't really expect it, but it really is such a cool idea and in line with what a lot of other projects do on other chains. It's a great rewards incentive. It's a great way to support the project. And it allows other different types of utility. Like I know that you get kind of, they've got, what do they call them? Packback rewards for doing swaps in the wallet and different things like that. And so the next step was earning yield on that PAC token and how they would kind of go about that. And so what they did was a very similar model to Saucer Swap, where you've got your PAC token and then you've got your XPAC token. And it's essentially like a liquid staking model, right? Where you swap your PAC token for XPAC. And then the ratio of XPAC to PAC just increases, right? So over time, in accordance with whatever the APY is set at, you know, the X variant of the token will be worth more and more and more than just the regular variant of the token. And then essentially when you want to realize the gains on that yield, you would just swap back or for something else, right? That's the whole point of liquid staking. It's very similar to HBAR as well. So there are these liquid staking models in Hedera. HashPack has adopted that. I think what people are most excited about is right now, the APR is fixed at 5%, right? So every year your PAC will grow 5%, which is, to be honest, you know, like that's really the sweet spot for APR. I mean, when you think of, you know, the S&P 500 or the stock market, when you think of every other crypto network out there, when you think of just what the standard yield is for an investment, it always kind of settles at 5%. So that feels pretty good. Now, then when we look at HBAR, you know, the yield is under, you know, still under 1%, like under 0.5%. So we're still in this ecosystem because of, you know, the lower liquidity and activity, especially in a bear market. We're going to have to see how things take shape, but it is going to take something to spur things on, something to start to build on that excitement. And I mean, you know, HashPack is a massive brand in this ecosystem. They got a token, they got a great APR. The bear market or the bull market's kind of hinting that it's coming. So this is definitely in my mind a bullish kind of like building block for this ecosystem. Just it's as simple as that, right? When people come in, they're going to be using wallets. They're going to be using DEXs. They're going to want to get tokens for these things. They're going to want to earn yield. They're going to want borrowing and lending. They're going to want these things. So it's all these kind of building blocks that we need to get into place for when things really kind of switch on. And it's good to see one of these building blocks here. So that's fantastic. Another great update from, you know, it's kind of like a retail enterprise mix kind of thing. We all love Dropp Wallet. I mean, I think most people will love Dropp Wallet because, as we remember last year when they announced that they were joining FedNow as one of the kind of trusted vendors or integrations, it was Dropp. The Dropp Wallet was featured on the FedNow website before anyone knew. It pumped HBAR, and Dropp is, you know, I speak with, you know, their team from time to time, and it's a great team. Like if we talk about companies focused on Hedera, motivated about Hedera, dedicated to the network and building out tech that can be exported to other areas, like Dropp is just a really great example of just like a good company coming out from, you know, the Hedera ecosystem. And so they've announced they've joined the Circle Alliance program. And so they're going to be right close to the source when it comes to one of the most important aspects of this ecosystem in crypto in general is Circle, right? The issuer of USDC. You've got USDC, you've got USDT, kind of these two major stable coins. Circle obviously being one of the most favored in the Hedera ecosystem. And so by integrating USDC, Dropp enables users to benefit from the reliability of DLT without the volatility associated with other cryptocurrencies, and it allows payments to be made quickly and securely in multiple currencies such as USDC HBAR, USDC ETH, and USDC AVAX. As we all know, or not as we all know, but as a lot of people know, USDC, right, the US dollar stablecoin from Circle, it comes in different flavors, right? There's different USDC on different chains. There's Hedera native USDC. We've got about 8 million on Hedera of stablecoin liquidity, and then maybe you've got tens of millions or hundreds of millions or billions on other networks. And so you've got these different types of USDC. We're really hungry in this ecosystem for more native USDC on Hedera. So this is really great to see, especially as Dropp kind of continues on their path for adoption and kind of what's coming in their roadmap. So it's going to be very interesting to see, but we need more USDC. We need more stablecoin liquidity on Hedera. It's absolutely crucial. So let's continue on to another topic. This is a topic that's on a lot of people's minds right now, and let's just take a quick peek here. People won't stop talking to me about this, but it's fair. So we go to Hedera transactions, 2 TPS on one TPS on the Hedera mainnet, right? Let's go to HederaRevenue.com, right? So we're seeing how much revenue is generated on the network. And if we turn on and off Avery Dennis, right, the revenue is the same. If we were to go to, let's say, the last quarter, right, you're going to see a big difference in revenue. As we know, 99% of transactions are submitted by Avery Dennison's Atma.io use case. These are subsidized transactions. These are HCS transactions. They account for about 70 to 80% of revenue. So all those conversations aside, we have seen, and I can't pull up Metrica, of course, here because it's offline now, but we have seen TPS on Hedera kind of see like a substantial drop down for weeks at a time. And again, because a lot of the TPS, 99% of it is from this one enterprise use case, we're largely revolving around their own kind of like corporate timeline, right? If there is something happening in October that requires them to spin things down or upgrade or change or migrate or whatever it is, we don't know what those things are, but the kind of like that kind of like ecosystem metric is tied to Avery Dennison, right? This one company, this governing council member. So there's a lot of questions as to like, why is this the case? What's going on? Will it come back? The thing to pay attention to is the payer account, right? There's an account that's used by Avery Dennison at Atma.io to pay for those transactions. That account is filled by the HBAR Foundation. It's an agreement carried over from Hedera. So that's something to keep an eye on because largely when that account starts to run low, things will have to switch over. So we've seen that in the past. There is a lot of HBAR in that account though. So we don't quite know exactly what's happening. There was an article that was shared regarding Avery Dennison opening up a new RFID facility in Mexico. And we know that the Atma.io use case that's kind of, is supply chain based. Does this have something to do with it, right? Does the opening of a new RFID chip facility in Mexico have something to do with this? Is Atma.io expanding? Is it integrating into a new facility? Is it migrating facilities? What's going on? So not to say this has anything to do with it, but naturally my mind goes to like, what could be causing this? What's changing at Avery Dennison? What could be impacting Atma.io that we know about? And this is really kind of the one thing. So we're keeping an eye on this, but not a ton of info right, about what's happening with Atma.io. We just know the TPS is still down. Historically, we should see TPS kind of come back up, potentially before the weekend. We are entering into kind of like unprecedented territory now in regards to the length of time that Atma.io has been down. So raises a lot of questions, right? Both worrying, but then also like super exciting and gets you thinking. So we'll continue keeping an eye on that. One more thing too. I mean, this is a bummer, but it happens. And, I know these guys and we see that, Walla Wallet, Ledgerama is going to discontinue the Android version of Walla Wallet. So this is a statement made by, Jeremy Fletcher from the Walla Wallet team. To all our Walla Wallet users, at this time, they're unable to continue supporting the Android version of Walla Wallet effective November 1st. So obviously, this is when we have an ecosystem that is, it's difficult for companies and founders to get funded. You start to see stuff like this, so it's a bummer. But what I want to say is, make sure if you're using Walla Wallet on Android right now for your crypto, please, 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 please back up your seed phrases, right? It says it in the article from Jeremy here, right? Please back up your seed phrases. You can put your seed phrases into a new wallet and open your account. If you don't back up your seed phrases and Walla Wallet gets removed from your Android phone, bye-bye all of your crypto, right? Your Walla Wallet is not what stores your crypto, right? It gives you access to your account via your private keys. And an extra note, don't share your private keys with anybody. Don't share your seed phrase with anybody. Don't do anything like that. Tom, Pix5, first cup of coffee thought, he says, should we even call Atma.io revenue? I mean, it's subjective. That's why on the Hgraph Hedera Revenue dashboard, we've just put a switch to turn that on and off so people could see what revenue on the network looks like with and without Atma. I don't know if there's like a definitive stance on that. Personally, I wouldn't, right? Just because revenue implies outside capital coming into the ecosystem, right? So Atma purchasing HBAR in the open market to pay for transactions on the network. So now it's not the end of the world. I mean, all this HBAR that's being sent to Atma, it's just cycling through the ecosystem, coming back, and some of it's going to everyone's wallets through staking. So that's great. So it's not, I think it's like a pretty good use, like it's a marketing spend. It's a proof of concept. It is what it is, but that's my thoughts on that. Also, quick shout out, and we're going to have Only LARPing joining the show here in just a couple minutes. Co-founder of Karate Combat, and I'll say inventor of the first layer 2 on Hedera, up layer 2. I'm really, really looking forward to this. But real quick, I wanted to talk about the new, I guess not new, the part 2 Hedera Hackathon. This is the HelloFuture Hackathon 2.0. The registrations are open now, and I think if we go to maybe there we go. HelloFuture. What's the domain? HelloFutureHackathon.dev. So there's a few differences here for anyone familiar with the kind of like Hackathon number 1. There's kind of some new tracks here, right? We've got D5 course. We've got, an advanced track, AI driven stuff, digital securities, but then we've also got like green finance. This is a new, item. We've got, DIDS, which is a new item. And then we've got Hashgraph Legends. This is going to be for, winners of the previous hackathon. Hgraph, we won 3rd place in the Trailblazers track. So that was amazing. So for us in particular, we would do the Hashgraph Legends track. But there's no longer just 4, right? There's more. There's the total prize pool, $300,000. I mean, that's juicy. I think that's fantastic. And we'll kind of just have to see, what new projects come out of this hackathon. The last hackathon was pretty awesome. And of course, we saw Nomad from Milan. That was pretty incredible, the digital payment stuff. There's a lot of peer-to-peer payment, products. There was Nomad, which also included like a hardware component. And then there was, what was it? It wasn't Gemio. I can't remember. There was another one that had just like an app, right, that leveraged the user's existing hardware. So anyways, hackathons are great. I think they're fantastic. I was not expecting a number 2. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Thank you, Jay. Severa. That was the one. Severa. That was great. I think they won number 1 overall or something. So that was fantastic. But yeah, I think the hackathons are pretty critical for, a growing ecosystem.